Welcome to this explainer. Right out of the gate, I want you to do something for me. Open your banking app. Seriously, go ahead, take a look at that number sitting right there in your savings account. You know, the one you worked so hard for, the one you check just to feel a little bit of security? Well, right off the bat, we need to confront a really harsh mathematical reality about that exact number. Because that number is lying to you. I mean it. Every single day you leave your hard-earned money sitting in cash, you are being quietly, systematically robbed. And the wildest part about this? There are no masked men. There's no broken window or blaring alarm. This robbery is entirely 100% legal. It's inflation. Now, most people just think of inflation as, the cost of groceries going up or gas getting way too expensive. But as we're going to see, that's actually a super dangerous misunderstanding. See, the traditional view tells us that prices are just going up, but the mathematical reality is actually way darker. The currency itself is collapsing. It's literally collapsing in real time. And here is the totally fascinating secret our sources reveal. Inflation isn't a crisis for everyone. For the ultra-wealthy, it's actually a massive wealth-building mechanism. So let's unpack exactly how this framework operates so you can finally stop bleeding purchasing power. All right. Act 1, the architecture of the trap. To beat the system, you've got to understand the game being played. So the modern financial system is built on fiat currency, right? Money literally printed out of thin air by central banks. And when the money supply increases, every single dollar you hold becomes a little less valuable. So I want you to think of your cash exactly like a melting ice cube. If you hold on to it really tightly, thinking you're keeping it perfectly safe, it's just going to vanish right through your fingers. The heat of that constantly expanding money supply melts away your purchasing power, minute by minute. And get this, the banking system actually relies on you keeping your money in that exact melting state. Sure, they might lure you in with a 2% yield in a quote-unquote high-yield savings account. But while they tossed you that 2%, true inflation is running at 5, 7, or even 10% in reality. So mathematically, you aren't saving at all. You are literally locking in a guaranteed loss. Which brings us to a really crucial realization here. Saving is dead. Deployment is the only way to survive. Dodging inflation requires this radical psychological pivot. You absolutely have to stop viewing cash as a vault to store value and start viewing it strictly as a temporary tool, a vehicle, used only to acquire something real. Moving on to Act 2, the inside job. So while the middle class is desperately clutching those melting ice cubes, the elite are playing a totally different game. To really grasp it, we have to talk about something called the cancel-on effect. This is an 18th century economic principle, and it basically says that when new money is created, the folks closest to the money printer, think big banks, massive corporations, they get to use that money first, long before prices go up in the broader economy. Just let the sheer weight of that systemic inequality sink in for a second. This breaks down exactly how the Cantillon effect plays out in everyday life. So, on day 1, the new money is printed. Bam! By month 1, the elites and the banks are already deploying it at its absolute maximum value. Fast forward to month 6, and because of all that new cash flooding the system, asset prices totally spike. And then finally, by year 1, that inflation finally trickles down and hits the average worker's paycheck. By the time that money actually reaches you, the damage is completely done. So, what exactly are those elites doing back at month 1? Well, they're trading paper for scarcity. While everyday people are hoarding depreciating dollars, the top 1% are aggressively converting their dollars into hard, scarce assets. We're talking real estate, precious metals, profitable businesses, high-grade art, rare commodities, stuff that absolutely cannot be printed out of thin air by a central bank. When the dollar's value drops, the nominal value of these hard assets just automatically rises to compensate. They aren't magically making more money out of nowhere. They're just brilliantly preserving their purchasing power while the rest of the world basically goes broke. All right, let's get into the actionable stuff. Act 3, the elite wealth playbook. Because look, knowing all of this means absolutely nothing if you don't actually execute. So let's lay out the overarching framework for the elite counterstrike against inflation. 3 steps. Step 1, own the earth. Step 2, weaponize debt. And step 3, invest in earning velocity. Let's break these down one by one. Rule number 1, own the earth and what comes out of it. You need exposure to tangible assets. Whether we're talking fractional real estate, physical gold, or commodities, you've got to tie at least a portion of your wealth to things that require actual human labor and physical resources to produce. You have to anchor your portfolio to the physical world purely because the physical world cannot be inflated away by a government printing press. Now, rule number 2 might feel a little counterintuitive at first, but stick with me. Weaponize fixed-rate debt. During periods of high inflation, debt is actually your greatest ally.
If you structure it correctly, of course. If you take out a fixed-rate loan to buy an income-producing asset, inflation literally pays off your debt for you. You're borrowing expensive, highly valuable dollars yesterday, and as inflation runs hot, you're paying the bank back with cheap, devalued dollars tomorrow. It's just brilliant math.
And finally, rule number 3, invest in your earning velocity. The ultimate inflation hedge isn't actually just an asset you buy. It's a high-income skill you possess. The cost of living is rising rapidly, right? Which means your ability to generate revenue simply has to outpace it. Hard skills, things like coding, elite sales, digital marketing, these cannot be taxed by inflation. Your competence, your ability to solve really complex problems, that is a permanent, completely untaxable store of value.
Which brings us to the conclusion of this explainer. Your next move, the escape.
Look, economic chaos is terrifying for the uneducated, but it is an absolute playground for the prepared. The greatest wealth transfers in human history are happening exactly right now, during times of massive systemic volatility. So I'm going to leave you with a stark, provocative choice. Will you melt or will you multiply? You can leave your money in the bank and just watch that ice cube quietly melt away. Or you can take control, convert your paper into power, and make yourself totally inflation-proof. Don't let the system win. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I seriously urge you to take a hard look at your strategy today.